Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we are finally going to start the VermiBag Max. So I had a video about building it a little bit, not the full video, but at least about the fact that it was a little bit difficult, more difficult than I thought. It is finally together, and I finally have organized my basement and gotten rid of a few of my bins, and so now we're going to start it up. So let's go take a look here. So I have my bin right here that I'm going to use. I have paper that's ready to go, and then of course I have the VermiBag Max ready to go. So I'm going to move this bin out of the way just for now, and we're going to open this up. With the way these zippers work, it goes all the way around, and we're going to just take a peek down in here, and as you can see, oh, hold on, let me get you down a little bit more. There's nothing in here right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to load this up with paper probably to about here, and then we're going to put the bin in and then more paper on top, and we're going to let that sit for a few days before I add any food, because I want to let them just kind of move around, get used to the new surroundings and everything. So I'm going to put this back down here. See if I can move this a little closer, maybe that'll help. There we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a whole bunch of paper here. So I've just got my entire bin that's filled with paper and cardboard. We're going to dump a whole lot of it in here. Alright, I think that's pretty good. Move this off to the side here. Just a good base to make sure that if there's any liquid or anything like that, it kind of gets captured instead of just falls right out, because I don't know how this bin's going to be. It was a little dusty, though, all that paper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bin here. Alright. This actually has a lot of worms in it. It's pretty well composted. There's still some paper in here. I don't know if there's any food. I didn't see any when I was kind of digging through it, but I didn't dig through it that well. But there's a lot of worms in here. There's some, I guess, some coffee grounds, but I mean, you can just see in this pile right here. I mean, there's just a ton of worms. So we got a lot of worms in here. I'm going to put all these in the bin, or in the bag, I should say, from the bin. It's also, this isn't too wet. This is not a lot of moisture at the bottom. Let's see, there's even more here in the middle. Look at this. This thing is just loaded with worms. There's a ton of worms in here. And what we're going to do is, as I said, is we're going to put these in, we're going to cover them with some more paper, and we're going to wait a little bit to put the food in. It's a little bit, this is a little bit too wet, really, as compared to what it should be for a bin, but it's not bad. It's a lot better than some of my other bins that have turned very muddy. And this kind of flakes apart, but it could definitely be a little bit more flaky. All right, so we're going to dump this in. I probably should be showing you how I dump it in, but I'm dumping this in. All right, that's the majority of it. There's still some stuff in here. I'm going to just scrape this out and move all this stuff around down here a little bit and kind of even it out a little bit. There's a couple more things in there, some banana peels and stuff. So I'm going to scrape the rest of this out here, because I really don't want to leave any worms in here since this is going to be empty, and I'm going to put this bin off to the side as I consolidate as I had in one of my other videos. So this bag, I'm currently at my son's school using the VermiBag Mini, which has been somewhat successful there. It's been a little bit rough because I don't think the kids have been quite putting enough water in it, so it was a little bit dry every time I've come and checked it, but I think we're getting that straightened out with some watermelon that I added the last time I was there. I didn't get to take a video because I was kind of in a rush, but so far I've been quite impressed with these bins, or these bag systems, instead of using bins. Whereas my bins are almost always really wet, the bags do tend to shed water a little better, and if they get too wet, it drains out the bottom, which can be bad. Whereas this bin, it's very self-contained. If it gets wet, well, it stays in the bin. If it's too dry, it also, you can easily water it, and but then it can become too wet. The bag systems, which I've been using the Urban Worm Bag, if you've been following those videos, the bag systems are a little bit different in that they get a lot more airflow, and because of that, they can tend to dry out. So I've had to watch the water situation a little bit more carefully in these systems than in my bin systems like this. All right, so that's pretty good. I think we got all the worms out at least. So I'm not seeing any worms. So that looks pretty empty right now. Hopefully I'm not missing anything in there. So I'm going to put that off to the side. And now we have our VermiBag up and running. And we've got a good amount in here already. It's already up to this, almost up to the second layer in some areas. We're going to kind of even this out a little bit here. So there's a lot of worms in here. There's probably well over a pound of worms that I dumped in here. And they're big worms too, a lot of them. That's what happens when your bins can get kind of thick. You get worms that are, you know, I mean, these are all red wigglers, but that is a fairly large one for my bins. I mean, normally they're kind of scrawny looking. So now I'm going to grab my paper again. I'm going to dump in a layer over top. There we go. So we're using a lot of paper to start this bin, but if I didn't have a already moist area that the worms were going to be in, I would soak all of this bedding in water, okay? So, and as I add food typically adds water to your bins. So if you're starting off with one of these, you just bought one, make sure that you actually wet all this bedding. You just want to take it, you want to dunk it in some water and then pick it up. It should be kind of, it should be, when you squeeze it, it should get a couple drops out, really. That's how wet you want your bedding. So I'll probably add a little bit of water to this later, but I'm going to let the worms just kind of acclimate to being in this bin. I don't want them to be crawling all over the place right now. So I'm going to leave it a little bit dry, and then we're going to add food in the next video, and then I'm probably going to add water and also some crushed eggshell. So this is just to start. Now, if you're doing this bin for the first time by yourself, I highly recommend, if you don't have worms and you don't have a bin that you're dumping in like I did, you actually put in all this paper as moist. You would then add a little bit of food to get kind of some microbes going in there, and also a little bit of dirt or sand to get those microbes in there as well, since you wouldn't have any worms yet, like a week before you get your worms. And that'll give them time to get at those microbes to build up in the soil or your leaf litter type material. And those microbes are what the worms are going to eat. So it's very important that you do that. And then as you add your worms, they will spread out and they will start to multiply. So we'll see how this goes. So far, my urban worm bag has been doing pretty good. And this is really helping me consolidate. This is the size of probably 3 bins that I use. So 3 of my 10-gallon bins. Actually, it's probably larger than that. It's probably closer to, I'm looking at surface area only, by the way, not underneath, but surface area only. This is probably closer to 3 or 4 bins. So I'm really starting to consolidate down as I move to these bag systems. And they're a little bit easier to keep because I don't have to stack everything on top of each other. So that's my update, or I should say our first video of the VermiBag Max. So this is a pretty big bag. As you can tell, my arm doesn't even go all the way across it. I have pretty long arms too. So it looks like it's a good system. We're going to try it out. All these seams look like they're going to hold, and it's easily holding up to this weight. I can easily put pressure on it. So I think this will do good. It's just a matter of getting it going right now. So I'm going to take off this glove here. I'm going to show you here one of the things that is different between the urban worm bag and the VermiBag is this mesh cover. So this one is going to allow a lot more airflow because it's a mesh cover. The other one sort of has a plastic covering. Get rid of that fruit fly. So that's one of the big differences here for those that haven't watched the other videos that I have shown of the differences between the bags. This mesh cover is going to allow a lot more moisture to exit the bin. If I had this outside, I'd probably would like to have something like this and then build some sort of structure over top. Like you can easily build a cover or something to keep the rain out of it, but at the same time, it would allow a lot of airflow, especially if it's humid out and you spray water in, it would allow it to evaporate out much easier. So that's our update for this week, or I should say new video for this week, and we will continue to update you on the VermiBag Max. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.